Hey everybody, JJ here, back again with another Saturday of Zoom networking. Got a really unbelievably awesome young man as our guest speaker today. I've had the pleasure to meet him numerous occasions. Great personality, really good looking guy, very friendly and very knowledgeable. Started as an investing student, became an entrepreneur, is now a very successful investor. My good friend Andy Choi. Andy, how are you?
Hey, JJ, thanks for having me. Doing great. Got a
Cool, brother.
great crowd here.
Yeah.
Appreciate you building this community and all the hard work you've put into and the dedication. I could see the hunger in people's eyes here on a Saturday when you could be somewhere at the pool maybe or at the beach, depending on where you live. But yeah, just really proud of you, bro. Everything you accomplished in the last few years.
Well, thank you so much. When I got started, you were one of the main rock and roll rock stars on the landscape, and to have you join us today is an honor. Hey, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
I am in Los Angeles, downtown LA. Yeah, I grew up in South Bay, Torrance, a suburb kid, right? And then, started, working here in LA little by little. I'll get into my story a little bit as we get the presentation going, but currently I live in LA. Uh, I don't know if it's the greatest place to be, but I currently call LA home.
Well, I don't think many places have better weather than we do. I'll tell you that. Hey, so we met through a Fortune Builder community, which was my
That's
first
right.
education platform, and you know, they went. They had a target market for their student body of people from all age groups. We all start from different places, get a different start. Uh, a lot of us start at a younger age. You're 1 or 2 years younger than me, but um, you know,
That's right.
in getting your start, like we're driving at 16, we're voting at 18, we're buying an alcoholic beverage at 21. From your teens to your 20s, was real estate on the landscape, or were you just going to school, or did you go to school after high school? What were you doing through those years? Was it at all real estate related? And if not, what were you doing in your earlier years?
Yeah, so my parents are from Korea, right? And hopefully you're not thinking North Korea, okay? So they're from South Korea, all right? So people, I had a person ask me, were they from North? I'm like, no, man, they're from the South Korea. Anyways, so I kind of bring that up for clarity. But yeah, my parents immigrated from Korea back in the 80s. And I was born here in South Bay in the Torrance area. And I grew up here, going to school here, getting education. And as a young kid, like my elementary dream was to be an airplane pilot. I always wanted to like maneuver and drive a big machinery. I thought it was really cool. It's still a dream. Who knows? I might get my pilot license. I did get my boating license, so I could actually captain and sail a boat up to 80 feet single-handed,
Wow,
right?
that's
I
pretty
don't
cool.
suggest it. I've done a 42 feet single-handed to Catalina and back. Definitely an experience. Amazing, amazing. But yeah, my parents were immigrants, very hardworking, saved every penny, right? Much sacrifice to come to a country with like barely knowing the system or the language and giving up their whole life to come here to start a new life. So for me personally, like that really resonated with me. And like for me to just like have a normal salary job, I just felt like my parents' sacrifice would be a little bit in vain. And there's nothing against like salary, that's totally my parents have a salary job, my sister has a salary job, so all no, nothing against that. But personally, my experience, like, oh, I think I could do something better. So, growing up, 17, I worked at a bagel shop in Torrance at the crossroads, right where that Home Depot is. And I would have to wake up at 5 in the morning, go there, start baking the bread and all of that.
Wow.
And 6 months later, my boss pulls me aside, like, "Hey, this place is limiting you." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's letting me go, but he's telling me like this place is limiting you. He's like, "Man, you got a lot more charisma and you're able to do a lot more." So he was indirectly nicely firing me, telling me that I'm overqualified for the job. Hilarious, right? So I was like, okay. So I ended that job, and then my friend was working at the fashion district. We have a Los Angeles fashion district, huge, huge. If you ever guys and ladies, if you want to get some really nice clothing for like fraction of the cost that you buy online. Fashion District, $50 would
Downtown.
get you a
Yep.
long way. For my guys, if you want to get some brownie points for your ladies, take her to the Fashion District, bring like $100, and man, you're gonna get a lot of brownie points. So I worked there doing manufacturing. So we would do full package private label. So what that is like department stores like Tilly's, Wet Seals, Macy's. They would hire my company to manufacture all the apparel, right?
Now,
So
what
we
what
make
was your
it, we
company
just
doing at
prepare.
that time, Andy?
Well, at first I started to work there, and then in 2010 I started my own apparel manufacturing company, right? So I got a little bit industry experience. I was like packing boxes, getting like almost practically minimum wage, and just a lot of sweat. Like literally, it
How
was
old
like
are you
80,
at this
90
time?
degrees. At that time, about like 18 to 21, right?
Wow.
Just putting in the work. So I'm not scared of hard work, labor work, the job has to get done. It has to get done. And then in 2010, my girlfriend at the time, she's like, "Hey, why don't you start your own business?" I had a few side clients. I was doing like a few hundred pieces for them. I was manufacturing, and then I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea." Not knowing what I'm going to get myself into the next 10 years, right? But I was like, wow, this roller coaster of business, right? You got like management, leadership, accountability, and all of this. I was like, oh my gosh, right? I'm only 22 years old. But I signed the lease and I moved forward. I created my corporation, right? And that was back in 2010. So this is when the economy was start, like I guess trying to rebound, right? Because remember, you guys all remember the '08 subprime. So in the 2010s, I created my business, and then it took off. I started to make 20, 30,000. My overhead was super low because I was the one man army, right? Me, myself, and I just wearing all the hats from sales to production to quality control to shipping to accounting. So I literally had to learn it all. And I remember one day my friend, so I'm 22, my friends are going to college, and he's like, "Hey, check out this econ book." And then I'm going through it with him. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. That's like stuff you're learning at school. I'm getting a firsthand experience right here at my business. I thought that was really, really cool. And so I scaled that. First, I was, making like hundreds of thousands. And then my client got a little bit slow. So the orders started to come down. And next thing you know, so I'm like top of the mountain. And I'm like 100,000 in debt in like about like, 14 months. Like, what the heck? Right? Talk about roller coaster. And, one thing I want to mention is that in life, there's always seasons, right? If you think about like all these great dynasties like Genghis Khan, the Roman Empire, nothing lasts forever, right? But the secret is to identify the seasons, right? When are you in winter? When are you in spring? When are you in summer? And then to plan around that. So I didn't know that. I was like, oh man, I should have had more clients, right? That was the learning experience. So yeah, I was like making good money, went into debt, and then I couldn't fight my way out of a paper bag, right? I don't know if anyone ever like been like so depressed and like so like I
Mm.
can't like figure it
Oh
out,
yeah.
right? Like I'm like wow. So that was that, and by the grace of God, I had a friend. He came in to help run the business, and then we started to do like work that we took on orders that other people wouldn't take, right? In the manufacturing world, we all want the big orders, right? The 10, 20,000, because
Yeah.
that's where the money's
Yeah.
at. You get the buying power. Nobody wants to do these like 50 pieces, 100 pieces. So I literally started from nothing. I reinvented myself, right? So went back to the clients like, hey, throw me an order, boom, boom, boom. Like I would do like 20, 25 piece orders. Unheard of. Like that's like doing samples, no,
Yeah.
that kind of quantity. And that's how I started to revamp. And then that turned into 300 pieces, and 300 pieces turned to 3,000. And from $100,000 in debt by year two, we're doing like 200,000 in sales. In year three, I'm doing like $1 million in
So
total gross sales.
let me ask you. Let's scoot forward. You're becoming successful in this aspect. How did you transition from that into real estate? What was your transition?
Yeah, so in about 2016, so I started the apparel business 2010 and 2016. Like as the internet got more involved into our lives, right? Like e-commerce, social media, TikTok, all of this started to like really be embedded into our society. It was just really hard to keep up with the demand of the department stores. The margins were like razor thin, like corporate, like we have something called like net 90, where you ship the merchandise and you don't get paid for 90 days. Like it's called terms, right? So it's just really cutthroat. So I was like, okay, we had its good run. So we started to scale down there in 2016. I heard a radio ad about flipping properties. I was like, wow, that sounds good. I was a little skeptical because it was free. It was like a 2-hour free seminar at LAX. It was Fortune Builders ad, and I was like a little skeptical, but I still went. I still went. It's probably the greatest decision I did today. And my teacher at the time, Nick, he was just like going over the concept by like buying properties, fixing it and selling it and using other people's money. I was like, wow, it's great. But what really hit me was that, hey, how come I'm a business owner and I don't know what promissory notes, deeds of trust, like how come I don't know all this? Like I knew what I knew, but I knew what I didn't know. So that really sparked an interest. So in 2016, I joined the Fortune Builders community, right? And then for like a couple months, I'm just like studying, going to all the, boot camps. Back then, there would be like monthly boot camps in San Diego, San Francisco, boom, go to all the boot camps and all the online material, just like learning it. And then one day on Redfin, because what I did was 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., I would run my business, my apparel business, and 6 p.m. to 12 a.m., I would be just doing real estate, right? Learning, comping, this and that, right? Sharpening my axe. And one day, it was actually Valentine's Day because I remember because I was like working hard. I told my girlfriend, "Hey, we ain't going out. We're gonna. I just invested $30,000 into this program. We ain't gonna get a deal right now. Okay, we're gonna get some to-go Chinese food and then we're gonna find a deal, right?" But that actually paid off because that day is the day I got my first deal. It was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath in Anaheim. It was a small little condo, because I was a little scared. How many of you guys actually like done a transaction here? Put a one in the chat if you've actually you bought a house or you flipped it, you wholesaled a property. Show me some, try to get an idea where you guys at. Oh, okay, messages are coming up at the bottom. Okay, cool. Okay, maybe like so far, maybe a quarter of the room so far. Okay, cool. So I don't know about you, but when I was buying my first piece of real estate, even though I had all this training, I was scared crap, like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Oh my God, like, right? What if this doesn't work out? But, I pushed through. It was a good deal. Long story short, I put like $10,000 to fix it using all of other people's money, even though I had mine, but they teach you. I learned to use other people's money. So I was like, hey, let's put it to the test. So I sold that condo, made about $30,000 in 90 days. I set the highest sold comp in the complex. Quick funny story. For about 2 weeks, I'm like trying to get a hold of the HOA to get approval to change the window, right? So if any of you guys know about HOA buildings, you got to get like approvals and stuff, right? If you want to do anything on the exterior. So I'm like, really like every other day, I'm like following up. Hey, can we, like, I got the window. It's the final window. Other people did it already. Just give me the green light. So like, and I got to make decisions because we're about to finish a project, right? So I tell my guy, like, hey, just swap it out. Just swap it out, right? Funny enough, the next day they email me, Mr. Choi, we saw your window has been replaced. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna try to like contact you for 2 weeks. They're like, oh, okay. Because I just pay a $50 fine. Okay, no problem. I pay a $50 fine. So I got it done, right? So, and I was telling them, hey, I'm gonna sell this property. It's gonna help you guys with your comps, it's gonna increase the value. So we create a good report there. But once I had a proof of concept, right? Because it's one thing, at least from my experience, like I could read all the books I want. I could read books on how to ride bikes, but actually riding the bike, you got that actual experience, right? Yeah. I had a proof of concept, like for sure, like with confidence, because now I bought and sold this, right? It was theoretical, but now this is real. So once I had that proof of concept, it gave me a lot of confidence. Oh, I could do this, right? And then coming from the apparel business, it was very similar because in my apparel business, we had subcontractors, we had like patterns, markings, like blueprints. We're sourcing materials constantly, apparel. So
you're already
homes,
polished at business relationships at this point.
that too, like sourcing, manufacturing apparel to like houses. There's a little bit of an overlap. The skill sets were already like 50% was already there. So the transition wasn't too tough because, I had a little bit of business acumen, but, and then I just went with the wind. And a gift and a curse, the second property I bought it, right? So I bought a $240,000 condo. And my second property was $1 million house in Culver City, off market, right? So the realtor calls me, hey, I got an off market probate for you, right? And this property in Culver City is like one of those areas where like houses don't really come up for sale. And like everybody wants to live there because they have the best school districts, right? So long story short, I ended up buying that property. Again, it was just a cosmetic flip. So we did the construction in 30 days and we go on market. I get like one offer, two offer, three offer. And I end up getting 10 offers. Like it's just going over and over. You know, I felt like I won the lottery or something like, ding, 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 right? And I end up making $240,000 profit, net profit to myself after I paid all my investors, the
Wow.
hard money lender and everything, you know, the transfer taxes, boom, 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 all this. Gross, I made 240. Okay, before my own income tax, right?
Wow.
In 90 days. The reason why this was a gift and a curse, I thought I had the Midas touch. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I was meant to do this. Oh man, I'm a natural. I got a little cocky, right? To be honest, right? And I ended up buying like 6 different properties all over LA, like bigger jobs, like complete gut jobs, additions, and all this. And wow, the next 12 to 14 months was crazy. Like I'm working like 18-hour days, Monday to Sunday, because like I was not ready to scale that fast, right? Because from one project at a time to 6 projects at a time, I didn't have the right
6.
resources.
Wow.
I didn't have the right resources. Meaning I didn't have the right contractors, the architects, and the biggest thing, I didn't know like if that framing was done correctly or if that drywall was done correctly. And every time the city inspector comes, he's like giving me corrections. I'm like, what is going on? I had to fire like a handful of general contractors and all this, and they're like putting liens, and I didn't even know about liens at the time. I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what's going on? Right. So I got through all that, right? So it was like the Darwin theory where like I had to force myself to learn quick and evolve, or I'm gonna like die. Right. So that was a very humbling experience for me. Don't have more than you can handle. Definitely there was a little bit of like, greed and like maybe I could do everything. But, you know, one thing what I think is really important, like anyone could have a good idea, but who could really execute? Right. Execution is everything. Like if you think about it, how many people you think in this world thought about building electric cars like globally? Probably a lot of people, right? I don't know the exact number, but probably a lot of people. But really, one person really only has done that, Elon Musk, right? So I think ideas are great and we need ideas, we need innovators like Thomas, Edison and everything, but execution is key, is what I realized. So, today I wanted to share with you guys, the topic today is how to take like single families into multifamily, right? So there's something called SB9, okay? Jumping into the main thing that I want to provide value for you guys today is SB9, all right? This is a Senate Bill 9. So what it is on a single family zoning, so an R1, you could have up to total of 6 units on one single family lot. Okay. And there's a couple ways to do that, right? So the Senate Bill 9, you immediately you're allowed to have a second unit attached, this yellow picture here, attached or detached right away. You could buy the property, go to the city, hire an architect, right? All that, and submit to immediately add a second unit. On top of that, you could have 2 additional detached ADUs. So right away, you could have 4 units on one single family lot. That's great, right? Because your price per acquisition is already fixed. Now you're just adding more doors. If you want to rent it out, you can. Another way is you could subdivide the lot. I don't do this strategy because it just takes too long. You have to own or occupy the building for 1 year. But once you do, or you have to show that you live there 1 year, you could split the lot in half. So if let's say you found like a 10,000 square foot property lot here in LA, which is very rare, they're usually anywhere like 4 to 7,000. But let's say you found a big lot, right? They do come out randomly, right? 10,000 square foot, you could do a lot split by using the Senate Bill 9 cheat code. And then from there, you could have 2 units plus 2 ADUs and 2 units and 2 ADUs. So you could have a total of 8. Two plus 2 is 4. And then you have another 2 plus 2 is 4. So you have a total of 8 units, right? So, but think about this. Think about you did like a seller finance and a SB9 combo. Wow, right? That sounds crazy, no? Like you negotiated with the seller, right, to do like a sub two seller finance, whatever. So you don't really have too much money out of your pocket, right? You're not gonna have to get too big of a loan, right? Maybe you might do a little gator lending, whatever, to close the closing costs. And then you raise capital or you have capital to add that second unit or the two other units, and then you're renting it out. So maybe the seller might have a 3% interest or 4% interest, right? Super low PITI, right? And then you add these couple other units and you're cash flowing like crazy, right? So that this is something that the state has came out with to um, help out with the housing shortage here in California. There is a bill right now under review that ADUs will now be allowed to be its own APN number, like separate, and you can like sell that off separately. So that's something that state of California is going through, right? Okay, so in order to do this, you do need to have some experience in construction, or you need to hire a contractor that has experience to erect a ground up construction. It's not for everyone, right? So definitely I need to have a good architect, right? That's going to do all the plans and everything for the city. You're going to need a structural engineer. Now, some architects or firms, they'll do everything for you. Like you just hire them and all these other bullet points that I have underneath here, they'll take care of all that, right? You do got to pay a little more, but they'll handle all that, right? If you want, you could hire these people separately and have the architects work with them directly. I like to do that because I like to control my bids, right? Because I don't know, like the architect might just charge me like, 20, 30,000. It's like, well, where did this number come from, right? So I like to get a bid from the architect. I like to get a bid from the structural engineer. So I'm like, I have a little bit of control of the pricing, right? So I'm getting good pricing, right? Because every dollar we save is a dollar we earn. So one thing I want to share with you, which I had to learn the hard way. I thought all architects are equal, but I found out quickly they're not. Like some architects are really good at space planning and designing, doing all the plans, like the whole, renderings and everything. And then but then they're not good at dealing with the city to get your plans approved, the whole entitlement process, because that's a whole nother like following up and being you got to really be on it with the city, right? Because they're like the DMV sometimes. They're like slow and confused and they don't respond to you. If any of you like pulled permits before or did an addition, like man, it's like no people are like throwing you to different departments and they're confused is the whole thing. So some architects are good at drawing everything and submitting it, but they're not good at getting your plans or permits approved. In that scenario, you want to hire a permit expediter. Okay. The permit expediter's job is to push your plans forward. They're typically there Monday through Friday at the city, not just only your plans and permits, but other investors or other homeowners' plans and permits, or they're working for architect firms and they're pushing it forward. So they're there working with them, shaking the right tree and and they'll feed that information back to the architect so they could do what they need to do to move forward. Now, some architects are not that good at space planning. So like one time we designed a house in Mar Vista and then it kind of like looked good on paper. But when we actually like started to frame it, like, oh man, we need to move a couple of walls around. So always double check is the point, right? At the end of the day, this is your investment. We have the responsibility. All these people here, we're hiring them. So technically we're the boss. Even though they might know more than us, we're the boss. I had to change that mindset a little bit. Yes, I might not be a pro and expert, but if anything, kind of goes bad, like we're going to end up paying for that, right? So we don't want to do that. So always do your due diligence, verify and clarify and just say, you know what? Hey, walk me through this. I always like to say, walk me through this. So there's just like, explain it. And when I do interview these contractors, these principals, I'm also asking them, hey, walk me through the process to see if they have the patience to teach me. Because some people, they don't want to teach you like, just kind of push you off, right? So I'm also like picking up those like some subliminal, like, are they going to like, have customer service and like kind of walk me through this, kind of go at my pace and help me out? Or are they just trying to like, get the contract and get the money, right? So, definitely like do your interview properly. And I always like to ask like, okay, what are the next two steps? Okay. Walk me through this. Where are we at now? What are the next 2 days? You might not be an expert in anything, but if you do those couple things I just told you, you're gonna sound like an expert. Okay, so where are we at now? And what are the next 2 days? You write it down, right? And then you might Google it or ask JJ or something, or put in a Facebook group for help, right? So this is what you might need. You might not need okay, so land survey, I would suggest if you're gonna do an addition or if you're gonna add a second unit, you definitely want to get a survey, and that's a separate company that will come out to the property with like these tripods with lasers, and they're going to mark where your property line is and where your exterior wall is to your property line. And you do need that. More than likely, the city is going to require you to have that. But going on, now, if you want to scale this over time, if you want to get your time back, you want to scale this and do more than one deal at a time, you want to have a team, right? So, you want to have a team, like maybe potentially an acquisition manager, designer, listing agent, stager, architect, insurance broker. So, you want to have a team so you're not like wearing all the hats. Maybe in the beginning, you're going to wear all the hats because, we're starting off the ground and we're going to run a little lean. But like, as you like might have this as a more of a full-time thing, right? You might want to consider having a team. And these team members, they don't always have to be on your payroll, right? Because that's going to like increase your burn rate on a monthly basis, and that's not fun either. So you can work things out with your agent. Hey, you want to help me out with acquisition? You could work something out with them. You could work out something with a general contractor. They could be your project manager and your GC. You guys could work something out like that, right? Your architect, you're going to probably pay per project anyways, so you're going to be fine there, right? But over time, you want to like start to build out your team. I like to kind of make a list of everything that I need to do, and like everything that's not an income generating task or it doesn't fulfill me. Those are the tasks that I leverage to like an assistant or like a virtual assistant, right? These days for like $3 to $10, you could get like amazing people working, in like South America. And they're just like 10 hours a day, Monday to Friday in front of a computer, just, checking my emails, all this, right? And get my time back, right? So that we could focus on things that are more important, right? Our health, our family, building relationship, community, and all that. So a little peek to my operations. This is a little old, but it has changed before. But there's me here, and then we have our operations manager, and then from her and I, we tag team all these departments together, right? So that's how we're able to do so many deals, right? So kind of went over that. Okay, so let's go over something. So earlier I talked about single families on a single family lot, right? Another method is there's something called zoning, right? So you have different types of zonings depending on your state or the city you live in. There's different types of zoning, and that allows you to build or not build certain things, right? So in California, specifically in Los Angeles, these are the building codes, RD, LA. So it's residential, right? RD, residential 1.5. LA, that's actually Los Angeles, like LA, RD2, RD3. So it took me a while to figure this out, but I realized there's like quick and easy math to figure out what could be built and not built, right? Why this is important is because depending on the zoning, you, or the homeowner, has rights how many buildings you can build by the zoning code. Okay, so meaning the city can't come and tell you, oh, you can't build that many units. No. The zoning code tells us how many units we can build by right, right? So if I buy a single family, I could only have one single family back in the day. But now because Senate Bill 9, we're allowed to build that second unit, and we're allowed to build the 2 units and back. These are our rights. This is in the law of state of California, right? So multifamily, these are multifamily zonings here, and we have different rights based on the zoning, right? So I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's like simple math on this one, like RD 1.5. What that means is 1,500 square foot of the lot, we're allowed to build 1 unit. So here's an example, 6,000 square foot lot divided by 1,500 square foot. So how many units can we build? 4, right? From here, we can add the ADUs. That's crazy, huh? So California, right? good and bad thing, right? In terms of what you could build. So something that we do for our operations internally is this is something we created called the accountability chart. So earlier I told you like the things that, okay, I'm not fulfilled anymore doing that. It's not an income generating task for me. So then I'll delegate that to a staff member in my team. Like I showed you my org chart, and they'll do it. So now this is like someone's like scope of work, right? So this is what one of my team member, Ashley, she would be doing these like day-to-day work throughout, and then it's just broken down daily, how often, etc. Right? And something that we realize is, okay, there's two parts in terms of management, like who's responsible to get the results and who's accountable to do the work, right? Accountable is the person taking action, right? So, hey, let's say we have we want to get some plans for a property we want to do. Okay, so the manager would be responsible to like get that done, but maybe the manager might have an assistant and an architect to work together. They're accountable. They're the ones in the driver's seat, in the trenches, moving the show along. So we realize there's two different things. So sometimes we will have somebody that's accountable and responsible for the same thing, but you can see here sometimes it's like call city inspections and then reschedule inspections. That's a very important thing, calling the city, scheduling an appointment with inspections. I am always at all city inspections as much as I want to get out of that role. It requires a lot of knowledge, right? Because the inspectors are people too, and sometimes they have a bad day and they don't want to pass me, even though they shouldn't be doing that, right? And that's going to slow down my job site. So I go to all my inspections because of that reason. So Ashley would help me schedule it, but I'm going to be there to meet with the inspector.
Scott Medrick, you are on with Andy Choi. What's your question?
What cost per square foot are you seeing right now for what you're building?
To like renovate or to build?
To build, ground up.
Okay. I think it's going to be very subjective to each person and each contractor. But typically for like an easy, like quick lipstick on a pig reno, I mean, I went down as low as like $40 a square foot. If I'm doing a full-on gut job and I'm replacing the roof, right, but I'm not doing an addition, I'm like at a sweet spot of like $80 to $100 price per square foot. And then for additions, ground ups or additions, I'm anywhere from 200 to 300 price per square foot, depending on the location and what kind of finishes and material we're going to use. So if I'm in like Mar Vista or like nicer part, like, higher quality finishes, then yeah, it's going to be on the higher side. But if I'm like East LA, it's going to be like, 200 to sometimes I'll even get down to 150.
For new construction?
Yeah. I'm building 6 units ground up, 150 a square foot.
Wow.
That's from a legit contractor.
Wow. That's a really good price. No, because I'm thinking about building possibly pad splits.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, the finishes have to be nice enough, and that's it. But I'm seeing quotes about 200 a foot at least.
That's everything out the door?
Yeah.
So where do you live? Where are you doing that project in?
Well, no, I'm in Orange County, but I'm looking in parts of LA. And but I'm a pad split broker, so I'm trying to help other investors and myself looking at some deals. And just the cost is new construction it's obviously a little high, plus the land cost.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and definitely with inflation and everything happening, building material and everything, like like milk went up 20-40% in the last couple of years, right? Crazy, right?
Right.
So yeah, definitely like just something I would suggest, Scott, that I do if you want to take this down is get multiple bids. I'm sure you might be already doing that. I always get like 2 or 3 bids. Anything more than like a couple $1,000s, I'm always getting 2 or 3 bids. Well, my staff is actually. Do I want, and then we always have this talk like, oh, they're like, I got you a bid. Okay, where's the second one? What am I comparing this to?
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, like I'm not gonna even look at this until you get the second, third bid. So, and then once I get those bids that I'm comparing, right? Okay, and you'd be surprised, like, man, like 10, 20, 150, depends on what scope is, but like, man, one time I got a bid for solar. It was like $80,000, like one contractor, and then I ended up getting 3 bids overall, and then one of the bids were 42,000. It's a 50% difference. And then this guy was going to do a lot more work on site than the first guy. So you know, my mentor told me if you cut one corner, you're gonna have two corners. So just do it right. Just do it right from the beginning.
Right. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Appreciate you coming on today. Justin Kremer, you are on with Andy Choi. What's your question?
Hey, Andy, thank you guys both for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. As usual, JJ.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. So my question is, what's your ideal lot size for adding ADUs? Do you go for like a specific size lot in Los Angeles?
So for me, first is price, because the lot is it's always number one, price. Because if I'm getting a good deal, like I might just even like flip it or just rent that unit out,
Yeah.
and then I have the choice to build ADU or not build ADU. So number one is price. We're buying at a good price. But in terms of like buildable square footage, ideally, I would want at least 4,500 square foot of a lot size, because then let's say hypothetically you have a 15 or 1,400 square foot 3 bedroom 2 bath at the primary home, then you still have enough room in the back to build the second unit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
At least. But my perfect wish would be anything over 7,000 square foot. Then, because like the problem is this, if the smaller the lot, everything's gonna be so crammed, right? And then you're gonna be limited to footprint, right?
Yeah.
So minimum will be 4,500 square foot to at least have two, maybe a small third unit. It might be a small third unit, or I might have like two 700 square foot units, right? Like you got the main house, 1,500 square foot, and you have two small units. But the problem with the smaller units, you're gonna go through all this ocean and the motion with like the building and safety and all that. You can spend like a few months getting the plans and permits, like I told you, and then you're gonna go through the whole work with the contractor building it out. I mean, you're gonna probably be in it like 12 months minimum. Even if I do it fast, it's 12 months, right? So if you think about it, you can spend 12 months to build two 800 square foot units versus you spend 12 months and you build like, two 1,200 square foot units, and your net, your gross income. Well, my cat's here. He always comes at the right time, right, Toby? So yeah, so all that energy you're going to put in the time, I would rather just go for that higher. If you have the money, if you have the funds, if you have investors for it, I would go for the higher ROI, because later on you're going to be able to charge more for a 3 bedroom 2 bath versus a 2 bedroom 2 bath. And then if you're going to hold these properties, your scale down the road in terms of how much cash flow you're going to generate from the property, it's way more.
Yeah.
Once you build multiple units on the property, you're now going into a little bit of the commercial mathematics, right? Yes, we're still looking at comps, but we're looking at the net operating income, right? The gross scheduled income minus your expenses, and then you're going to get your NOI, right? From your net NOI, you're going to divide by your cap rate, or you're going to multiply your GSR by your GRM, right? And then now you're in like the commercial world. Like now your values are like, it's not just a three unit that sold in that area. By the way, I spoke to an appraiser, one of my good friends. He's a licensed appraiser for the state of California. I was like, hey, how would you appraise these buildings? Because they're technically single family. So first we're gonna try to look for like. I'm like, well, you're not gonna find much. He's like, I know. So then what did they train you to do? They said then go for a 3 unit complex, like whatever, like an apartment building, like to triplex.
Oh, interesting.
So you'd be surprised. Some areas of pockets in LA, it's like, wow, that's a better strategy to add the couple units versus doing a single family fix and flip. Your spread's a lot higher, because now you're taking a single family home, doing 3-4 units. Now it's a small business, right? The cool thing about multifamily and commercial real estate, it's like ran like a business. You have the top line, which is the gross scheduled income. You have your expenses, consider it a cost of goods sold to any accountants in the room, right? And then you have your bottom number, which is your NOI, right? So the more NOI, cap rates are a little high right now. Hopefully it comes down. The higher the value is going to be, right? So every dollar counts in commercial real estate.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Cool, man. And what the follow-up question, what's your favorite area in Los Angeles to do this?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what favorite area to eat. I was like,
I
got a couple Korean barbecue spots.
Yeah,
but
I had another longer question, but I'm gonna let some other questions in. But yeah,
I can stay on a few more minutes. No problem, no rush. Like about 10 minutes. So I like to do this where the rents are the highest, right? Because at the end of the day, the higher the rent, the more income the property is going to generate, right?
Makes sense.
And I'm going to put all this work that your building cost from West Adams to La Brea, your building cost is going to be pretty similar. Like
Yeah.
it'll be like a 5% variance most likely, but your rents are going to be almost 20-30% different. So it's like, yeah, that's so I like to go
We're
in
talking
areas
like
that are high
we're
rent.
talking about North Hollywood, West Hollywood, those areas like that.
Like Los Feliz,
Los Feliz, yeah.
Mid City is good, right? Mar Vista is good. West Hollywood, I would never do any projects in West Hollywood because I've done it. It is a headache.
Oh wow.
You put in plans and permits there, you're never getting it approved. They got so much red tape.
That
there,
makes
so
sense though. Yeah, that makes sense because they're super strict over there.
yeah, they have their own building and safety, and I wouldn't do it again. It's just too much. It just takes so long to get approval, and they have so many their own ordinances. It's just I can't. It's just
How long did it take you in that area for?
Oh man, just to get plans approved, it took like 18 months. Something I could do in LA City for in 6 months. It took 18 months.
Hey, Britt, you're on with Andy Choi. What's your question?
Actually, you just started touching on it, the red tape question. How do you determine which cities and which areas have more red tape than others? And is that just networking with people and hearing their stories? I'm in a Pasadena area, and a friend just encountered this out in Laverne, where thinking, oh, it'd be simple to build up the ADU, and then there was some additional red tape that just took a couple other extra months of effort and sweat.
Yeah, good question. It's just honestly, it's my personal experience. I did a little bit more than 110 projects in the last 8 years, and just I've done projects in Pasadena, Santa Monica, Inglewood, like LA City, of course. That's where most of our projects are. Joshua Tree, remember the whole Joshua Tree thing? Like that was a whole fad, right? That was a trend. Where else? Gardena, Torrance. Oh man. Long story short, I'm only doing LA City now. Because all these other cities, for a couple of reasons. My thought is that LA City has the biggest budget. It's LA City. We have the biggest budget, right? So therefore, the building and safety is the biggest. It's like multiple levels, like a whole building here in downtown LA. And they have also the Van Nuys office too. That's a whole building itself too. They have the most amount of manpower as well. Technology-wise, like now I could pull a kitchen bathroom permit like over the counter, like meaning I could just do it on the internet. Like that's how advanced they are. I have yet to find any other city that comes close to that. And these smaller cities, they also have less population, right, Britt? So that means they have less cases. So even though the state level, they passed this law, but it takes time on a city level for them to adapt it and create a clear path forward. So in Vernon, I don't know how many ADUs they've done. You know what I mean? And maybe they're still trying to figure it out, right? So therefore, I don't like to do those smaller cities because like they're not ready for it, and I don't want to be the guinea pig, because I'm all about like execution. We want to go in, out, 12, 18 months, boom, let's go, right? Because holding costs is no joke, right? So I currently only stick with LA City for that reason. But if you are going to do other cities, I would call the building and safety, make an appointment, talk to the plan checker. Hey, how many have you done? They might not give you the answer, but my mentor told me be the pain in the ass. Because I'd rather be the pain in the ass versus my ass being on the line, right? And then doing a project that they don't have a clear pathway forward. So I'll call the city and just double check it out if needed.
Okay, thanks. That was part B of my question. So thank you.
I got you.
Great, thanks.
Okay, Liz, you're on with Andy Choi. What's your question?
Yes. Hi, Andy.
Hi.
Say if you build ADUs, do you connect the to a septic tank or a city tank?
Most of my projects are city connection sewers. I had one property in 29 Palms over there in the desert. That was on a septic tank. So typically I'm going to do my inspections, right, when I buy that property or I'm in escrow. So I'll know if it's city or septic because I'm doing my inspections. Most city areas, like if it's like infill city areas, 90% of the time it's going to be on sewer, regular city sewer connection. But if you're like in the remote areas or in the mountain areas, there is a chance it'll be on septic. Just do your inspections, and then based on that, you might even hire a company to just inspect the septic tank separately. It's not much. It's like a couple $100, and it'll give you a full-on report and all that. I'm glad I did that for my Joshua Treehouse because like the septic tank pretty much collapsed, so I had to build a new one. Right? It was like about $8,000. Right? Like they had to dig it out, put a new one, all this. Right? But I took that proposal to the seller, like, hey, did you know your septic tank was like pretty bad? He's like, he had no idea. So we got a little bit of discount. We got a little negotiation.
Is it cheaper to do septic tank?
Excuse me?
If it's cheaper to do a septic,
Yeah, it's not because of about cheaper, right? I mean, the regulations in the city.
well, I mean, if you do a new sewer line, it's gonna probably run you like 8,000 anyways, like let's say, okay, so a lot of these properties here in California, right, it's made out of clay pipes, right? Back in the day, they did clay. But the clay doesn't last long, right? We're in like an earthquake area, number one. Number two, there's like root intrusion. So I would say 50% of the time I'm replacing the sewer line anyways. That's gonna run you about $8,000 more or less, at least for me. Now, if your sewer line is on top of a concrete driveway, that's going to be additional because now they have to break the concrete and then pour the concrete back. That can run anywhere 10 to 12,000. But if you're just like digging the front lawn and it's about like 20 feet, more or less, I'm paying about like 8,000, 8 to 6,000 for that. And then if you get a brand new septic tank, it'll probably cost you the same. So I think it's about neck to neck, in my opinion.
And Andy, I'm thinking, with septic and sewer, most of your projects, as you said, are in the city of LA, if not the county of LA. And when you're dealing with an incorporated area, Liz, I mean, 99% of the time, you've got sewers in place. So in the incorporated areas like city of LA, you don't really have a choice if you're going to have septic or sewer. It's going to be sewer. That's just what Andy says. Is it an old line or not, where you've got to break out the old clay and put in the new black ABS? But in the more remote areas where some communities might not have had run sewer lines through neighborhoods, like 29 Palms, like Andy was saying, or Mojave Desert, probably some remote areas of Palmdale, Lancaster, the only option probably really is to put in the septic tank, because you can only connect to a sewer if there's one there. And if there's not one there, you can't really put one in, because you'd have to run that thing probably for miles to get to the nearest main line. I mean, am I right there, Andy? Or is that?
Yeah, that's correct. And then another thing that happened to me once in the desert was like, this was Yucca Valley, right? So it's all residential. It's like literally residential, but it was on septic. And then when I got the prelim, the title report, it says that the sewer company put a lien on the whole cut, like everything. It was crazy. So like what it is every owner is forced to upgrade from septic to the sewer, because now they have it's all ready for the residents to tie in. And you had a certain time to do that by, or you're going to get penalized. So read your prelim, because it'll tell you if it's connected to sewer, or if the utility company put any liens on the property to force the homeowners to comply with these changes to help, the sanitariness of the area, right? But yeah, most cities here in LA is going to be the sewer line, regular sewer to the city. Yeah. But do your general inspections, do your sewer line camera inspection, okay? And then get multiple bids if you need to. Piece of cake. Are you working on a sewer line or something? Is that why you asked?
My contractor said it's in the city of Redlands. Oh, we're gonna do septic. I'm like, why? It's in the city. Well, it would cost me a lot of money to,
Understood. Okay, I understand your question now. Call Public Works. Yeah. I don't know Redlands. Call Redlands Public Works. But hey, give them the address. I bought this house. Is there a sewer connection, or is it septic? And then go from there.
Okay, thank you. I like this info.
Okay, Andy, I know you got to rock and roll, so we'll wrap it up a little bit. Hopefully, we can get you back on another day, and down the road, have you come back again. I've got two last questions for you. One, people have questions for you, whether not only on the call but watching on YouTube weeks and months down the road. What's the best way for folks to reach you?
The best way to reach me, guys, is on Instagram. My current handle is Ready Cash Offer. Feel free to DM me. I'm still responding to my DMs. I'm just not like, actively like glued to Instagram, because I'm focusing on other things right now. Instagram, Ready Cash Offer.
This is it here, right?
That is correct. I have some content there, guys, if you want to check it out. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, you have any deals, if you guys want to invest, I'm here local in downtown. So we do also have our own meetups time to time. So if I do have a meetup, I'll be posting here. So if you guys could RSVP, come network, right?
Great. Hey, I got one last question for you. We've met multiple times at investment groups, networking groups. I think you're even at last year's picnic, I believe, which was a networking
with Pace
event.
Morbey and stuff. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That was really cool. Amazing.
So, my group's a networking group, and I'm constantly talking about the importance of networking. And as we met originally through Fortune Builders, there are many real estate education platforms out there that are selling an education package. They're bringing in brand new investors that don't know anything about real estate to very experienced investors coming to buy in these education programs. And quite frequently, these investors are now joining the Facebook community for the education program, now using Facebook for the first time as a business tool, as opposed to how they use it in junior high school or high school. For all these investors that are coming to social media now using Facebook as a business tool, much less Instagram, the other platforms, what is the importance of actually networking for the investor to the success of their business? And what's the importance of possibly joining a networking group like mine to the success of someone's business?
Yeah, I think that networking is vital to the success of your life. I think us as human beings, we're designed to have relationships. It enhances everything. And then it sucks because like the whole technology, it makes it so easy to isolate, right? Like hide behind a screen, now you got like everything on your fingertips, like Uber, this, swipe left, right, like it's insane. Like order Amazon, you're like, sometimes like I don't leave my condo here for like a day or two. I'm like, well, I didn't even leave. I didn't go out. I need to go out. We got to be human. So I think that you have to make that conscious effort to connect, right? I think it's easy to, again, isolate and stuff like that. Just being aware of that, number one, but, kind of step out of your comfort zone if needed. And I think in terms of networking for the success of your business, the success of enriching the quality of your life, I think it's so vital to network and meet people like-minded. And then, my sister once, she was like, oh, I can't meet good people. Because like what happened was she graduated college and then all her close friends got married and went to different states to live. Now she was like the one person here in LA, like, because all her good friends like left. And it's just like complaining in a sense, like venting, right? Oh, I don't have friends anymore. I'm like, well, go find one. Go find friends that you vibe with. Go find your tribe.
Yeah.
And if that didn't mix for you, okay, great. You get their contact and then, put them in the other column, you could be acquaintances, but go find your tribe that you vibe with, that you guys have the similar values and you guys resonate and you guys could meet each other's needs in a sense, right? And I think that for real estate and business, it's critical to network. Yesterday, I was at a Chamber of Commerce, Korean American Chamber of Commerce gala. Couple hundred people, the guy next to me has like a nonprofit. They have about like $20 million to invest. And then he's introduced me to his daughter, who's a realtor. And then he's like, hey, my aunt bought this property from 1977, $127,000, a 6-unit right here next to right underneath Griffith Park. It's a great area. And he's like, yeah, she wants to sell it. I was like, well, I can give her a full price, but she's gonna have to pay a lot of taxes. So why don't she become the bank and I'll pay her monthly? And then, so seller finance, right? He's like, that's a great idea. I was like, yeah, it's a great idea, right? So you never know. The other week I met this lady. She's she's on the advisory board of this real estate firm. This lady raised $500 million in capital.
Wow.
In the last like 7 years, like $500 million. And then another week ago, I met the president of Lowe's. They're like a big real estate company. They own about like 40,000 doors here. That's massive. You never know. And these people are so chill. Like they're just like normal people, just like us. I was at my Bible study. I'll leave with this, okay? I was at Bible study today morning with my my leader Brandon, and he runs a sales team of 19 people, right, at ADT. They're like a big payroll company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me like he's like goes to baseball games with billionaires, like owners of the businesses and stuff like that. And he reminded me like, hey, no matter what, every single person is going to have about 5 people they're really leading. Like, it's not really realistic to lead more than 5 people because, like, we got lives, right? So, pick that tribe, pick who you're going to lead. And then just to remind yourself that we're all, have a handful of people that we're inspiring, influence, and leading, right? Probably might be with the people that we're close with, family, friends, husband, wife. And then you got a few more people you can add to your sphere. But the rest of those 3 people or whatever, 4 people, whoever, who you put in there, proximity is power, right? You guys heard it probably 100 times. Who you surround yourself with, you're going to be that 5th or 6th person. So turn every rock. You got nothing to lose. And JJ,
exactly.
You're going to have that picnic, right? That picnic's coming up.
Yes, we are.
That's a great place to get plugged in, right?
Yeah, no.
When's the date again?
We are having a networking picnic in Los Angeles on Saturday, June 15th. We're expecting in excess of 300 investors, and last year we had them flying from 7 different states: Florida, New York, Ohio, Texas, Illinois, Wisconsin, Arizona, and we're expecting again people flying in from out of state. And we're expecting over 300 investors for an all-day networking event in Griffith Park in Los Angeles. And again, it's about building relationships and getting to know people.
Oh, that's a great place to get plugged in. If you haven't been there, come by, guys. I'm going to show up for sure. So if you guys want to meet me in person and, geek out on real estate and how to make, amazing money, and then also there's something called infinite baking, by the way, right? There's a whole other thing about infinite baking, right? So, that's kind of it. But I think there was another question about Airbnbs. My Joshua Tree properties were Airbnbs, but I did sell them all now because it's too far for me. It's like 2-hour drive every time I go there. So I don't want to drive 2 hours anymore. So I want to just stay here in LA City at the moment.
There you go. Hey, well, Andy, I want to really thank you for joining us today. You can hang around for a second after we end. We're just going to have the whole group say goodbye to you and just thank you so much. In the meantime, if you guys are watching on YouTube, please like Andy's video. Please put in the comments your takeaways, what you found beneficial, how we can improve, how we can do a better job. We want to bring you a better product. Again, whether you're on the call, whether you're watching on YouTube, if you want to connect with Andy, it's Ready Cash Offer at Instagram. You could also just pop in the search name, his name, or Ready Cash Offer. You'll find Andy on Instagram. It's the best way to reach him. If you want to get a hold of me, up here it says jjzizan.com is my website. Over here on this side is a little QR code. You scan that and you can join the networking group. Again, Andy, thank you so much. Everybody else on the call, stick around for the breakout rooms. We're going to say goodbye to Andy. Everybody else watching, thank you, Andy. We'll see all them out on social media, right? Instagram and
right.
And MySpace.
Yeah, and MySpace.
See you guys later.
Thanks,
Thank you so much, everybody.